So actually, I'm going to kick us off this morning with a poll. I do polls a lot in our Zoom sessions, but I haven't done them a lot in the go-to. So first is how you're doing, how you feeling. So everybody, click one for us. You get to select one of the following. Tell me if you're ready for this. If you're burnt out right now and just barely hanging on. If you're like me and you're just ready for election season to be over, because if you hear one more political ad, you might pull your hair out. All right, we've got almost everybody and some responses. Give you one more second to answer. Got 84% people who voted, 86. This is fun. I think I like polls better in the GoToWebinar than I do in the the Zoom. A little bit easier. All right, I'm going to close this poll out and share the results. Oh! Oh, so a lot of people looks like agree with me that we are just ready for election season to be over so we can just move on with life. I see we got some good energy going on, ready for this, pumped up to be here. And then of course how is it October already? Because I feel like March, April, May were 7 years long, and then like September and October has felt like 7 seconds long, and it's driving me crazy. This is my favorite time of year, the fall with the leaves and everything, and I always feel like every year it goes by the quickest. All right, so we're gonna get started. Couple things. 2020 is a dumpster fire. We all know it's been a crazy year. And our hope is that by talking about what is coming for the annual assessment process will not stress you out, that it will actually make you breathe a sigh of relief and be able to take a step back and be like, okay, I've got this. Everything is good to go. So we do have, I was talking with Elizabeth earlier today, and I was like, I don't feel like this presentation is going to be as long as our normal annual assessment stuff, and you'll see why in a minute, because we're kind of just trying to dive into it, but also keep it simple this year. So this is what we're going to focus on today. We're going to talk a little bit about the 2021 annual assessment process, what to expect, where to find resources, how to evaluate where you're at as a program, that kind of stuff. And really just kind of go through all that. Keeping it simple. So let's talk about what this is going to look like, the 2021 annual assessment process. So you'll hear me refer to it as 2021 because we're looking at what we are assessing in 2021. But one of the things you need to keep in mind is that we're always a year behind. So while the assessment will be due January 15th, 2021, all the information that you give us is going to be based on everything that has happened in 2020. And one of the things that I want to first start with is that for managers who have been with us for a little bit, for at least the past 3 years, you will know that the past 3 years we've done assessments a little bit different. About a third of our communities every single year have met with us one-on-one, face-to-face, to do some kind of in-person annual assessment presentation. You do a little bit more extended annual assessment process and paperwork. We look at things a little bit deeper and do a much more comprehensive overlook of where you're at as a program. We have really enjoyed those. I will say it takes a lot to organize and coordinate, and I know it takes a lot more from you guys as far as just putting things together, but I will say that I think it's one of the best changes we've made in the past 8, 9, 10 years, and I'm really excited that we brought them back. As of this year, we've completed a full cycle. So we've met with every single community face to face over the past 3 years. And the idea before the pandemic was that, again, we would continue moving forward with this and we would start the cycle over. And then COVID hit. And so one of the things that the team talked about, looking at our managers, everybody's stress level, what's happening, our ability to feel prepared and that we're able to meet the standards and different things like that. As a team, we said, you know what, let's take a step back when we do our 2021 annual assessments, and let's, instead of doing them in person, let's let everybody do the short form this upcoming year. Let's not start a new cycle. Let's not take on anything new. So that's going to be that's going to be the biggest change for what's happening this year. Everybody's going to be doing the checklist. Everybody's going to be doing the short form version of the annual assessment. Nobody will be meeting with us in person in 2021. We will be doing some GEMS reviews and redesignations, but that's about it. And we will be doing all those virtually. Again, we really wanted to try and relieve some of the pressure. And I've also had plenty of people say, well, what if I'm not able to meet this standard or that standard, or, you know, we're not going to be able to have all the meetings we should have had, and different things like that. Our goal in our office is to provide as much flexibility as possible this year, to give you guys as much flexibility in this annual assessment process. We don't want anybody's accreditation to be in jeopardy because this has been a crazy year because of COVID. I mean, that's just not what our hope is as an office. You know, we're here to support you guys through this process. And again, my hope is to streamline it and make it easier on you guys. So again, there will be no in-person presentations in 2021, but the goal is that we would restart the 3-year cycle in 2022, the beginning of 2022. And if for some reason COVID or something else is still with us and we can't meet together in 2022, besides the fact that I think I'll probably pull my hair out, we will figure something else out, because again, we can only kind of kick this can for so long. So the idea, again, is that we want to make sure that we're touching base and we're checking in and we're making sure that we're kind of maintaining the status quo, but we don't want to overburden anybody. So one of the other new things is that all communities, affiliate, classic, and GEMS, will be doing an assessment this year, and we'll be doing the short form assessment. And I will show you what this kind of short form checklist looks like. I see that.
I want to say,
yeah,
sorry,
absolutely.
for 2 seconds. So I want to say, when we are reviewing your Dropboxes, we're going to, like as Jessica said, we're going to be mindful of the fact that 2020 is 2020, and there's extenuating circumstances. And so let's say you didn't meet the board meeting requirement or the training requirement, all those sort of elements that there's a specific requirement for. We're going to be lenient this year. However, they're like in your write-up for the year, there's still probably going to be something pointing to, we know it's 2020, you didn't meet this requirement this year, it's okay, but just be mindful that next year the expectation, pending any other like disaster, will be that you're going to meet this next year. So we're still going to point it out that there might be a deficiency, but you're not going to be penalized for it. So I just want to let y'all know, and that's just so that, you know, we're clearly communicating, you know, this is a requirement, all that type of stuff, but it's not going to be a penalty.
Yeah, that's a really great point to make. We want to make sure that we're still being accurate and accountable, but again, the goal is not to penalize anybody for it. So let me move on to our next slide. So one of the things I'm going to show you in a little bit is, let me kind of, hold on, is this document. This is our 2021 annual assessment checklist. This is the document that everybody's going to be filling out and submitting to us, whether you are an affiliate, whether you are a classic, whether you're GEMS. Everybody is going to do this checklist. And so what I want to do before we get into the checklist is show you how to get there. And so we'll back up a little bit. When you go to our website, georgiamainstreet.org, you'll go over to the resources section here, and when you see and click on the drop down, you'll see resource library. That's where you're going to want to click, and then you're going to filter by category, and annual assessment is the first section that comes up. And when you click on there, this checklist and affidavit is going to be at the very top. Now, you can also download that in the handouts. So in our handouts section here in your little control panel, you have the ability to download that document today without having to go to the website to do that. Jeffrey, did you have a question? I see your hands raised. I know that Hetty got taken care of, so I just wanted to ask you if you had a question. You can either put it in the question box or I can just lower your hand, but okay, no problem. Just wanted to make sure you're good. Okay, so when you go to this document, again, this is what I'm talking about when we're asking everybody to do the short form this year. And I'm actually going to switch screens a little bit so I can pull it up a little bit bigger. This is what it's actually going to, there we go. This is what it's actually going to look like when you do it. This is an editable PDF. You can check the boxes here and go through this entire document. Again, it's going to say 2021 annual assessment checklist, but up here on the top, you'll see, again, this is based on the 2020 calendar information. Again, for all Main Street communities, we were going to get everybody to do this for us. Once you have, again, gone through this and made sure that everything is uploaded to Dropbox, you will sign this document digitally here at the bottom. If you're one of those people and your folks that you work with like to sign things, like actually sign them, you can have them do that and then just scan a copy and upload it to Dropbox as well. But let's go through this a little bit, and I'm going to ask I'm actually going to ask Elizabeth to take us through this. She is my details into the weeds girl, and she's also going to talk a little bit about our expectations from each of these items. But again, this is what everybody will be doing and turning into us. So Elizabeth, you want to jump in?
Yeah. Hey everyone. So I'm just going to go through really quickly. A lot of the things are self-explanatory, but I'll just delve a little bit deeper into the things that we commonly see some inconsistencies or like incorrect information uploaded. Just super, super quick, I promise. I've done this a lot, so I'm like super zippy. So annual assessment checklist and affidavit, that goes in your standard, the assessment folder, self-explanatory, it's what you're looking at right now. Map of Main Street program boundaries, again, self-explanatory. A lot of those, you know, you all already have them in there, despite, or if you're an affiliate and you're working on it, like I understand, and we've talked about that. Organizational.
Like Elizabeth said, you should have most of this information in there. If you did not present last year, you would have completed this exact form last year, and so you can really copy and paste a lot of that information over, because things like your boundaries and your mission and vision statement, these things probably won't change from year to year, most likely.
Yeah. I call them the static document.
Yeah, but we want to see the most up-to-date version that you have in your 2020 folder.
So those two are self-explanatory. On the organizational chart, it's very simple, but sometimes it can get fiddly. Some people call it a hierarchy chart. So on here, we really want to see is where your program fits into like the grander scheme of your community. So who specifically, if you're under a department, what the department is, who you report to, who that person reports to, so we can kind of see where your program is fitting in your city, or if you're under like a chamber, like how that structure is working. That really helps us when we're looking, you know, when we're going to talk to a community, we just need a refresher of how your program's structured. That's what we're looking for. We want to know who you're reporting to, all that type of stuff. Sometimes I see just like the manager and the board, and that's not what we're looking for. We're really wanting that hierarchy of where you fit into the grander picture of your community. One tip, don't put names, just put titles. That way you don't have to update it as often. If somebody leaves or you have a shift in people, you get a new boss, something like that, you'll have to remember to go in there and update a name. Don't worry about it, just put titles. It just makes everything simpler. If I could give you one piece of advice, that way it is a static document, so you don't have to continually update it. Mission and vision.
I was gonna say, and like Elizabeth said, we use this really, it's something that the national folks ask for everybody to have, but we also use this when we're working with you and we have questions about how does everything flow within the city? Because as you guys know, everybody's setup is a little bit different. Everybody's housed in different programs. Everybody is accountable to different people. Some people are a DDA Main Street combo. Some people are just a separate 501c3 or C6 organization. So we're trying to figure out how you, as an organization and a person, fit into this overall, context of the city. So this can be, it's one of those things we don't have to go to very often, but when we do need to go to it, it's very important.
So super simple. If you have any additional questions, feel free to email me. I will be happy to help you along. And then we have annual work plan. I'm getting a notification that my audio is not great. Is it okay?
I've got you. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So annual work plan, and that is utilizing the DCA template. We now have 2 templates. One is our old template, and we introduced a new, more simplified template this year. We will accept both. If you already have your work plan in the old template, we understand that you don't really want to go through the process of transferring it this year. But the new template is a lot more simplified. So I encourage you to sort of look at that if you haven't. If you need that, just let us know. We'll send you a copy.
And I'll show you in a little bit where you can find it as well.
And then also this year we do realize that some people already have really strong work plans, and they're like, well, we really don't feel like utilizing a template. We feel like we found what works for our community. If you're a community that has, Milledgeville comes to mind because Carly has a really great work plan. We actually modeled our work plan very closely on hers. If you have a work plan that really works for your community, email it to us. We'll look it over. We'll make sure it sort of fits the things that we're wanting to see, like timeline, budget, responsible party, all of those factors. If we feel like it is hitting the marks that we want to see, we will approve it and you can use that. But it does need to go through that approval process. So we're being a little bit more flexible this year on that, because we understand that if you have something that's working, you don't really want to switch it. So, but we still need to lay eyes on it and give it the blessing. So that's the work plan. Board meetings. So standard 5 is the bulkiest folder. It's your board meetings, your board agendas, your MOU, your bylaws, and the board roster. So self-explanatory. There is a template for the board roster. Y'all all should have it. There's a few outstanding communities that don't, but if you need it, it's on our website, and I can also send that to you as well. But that is a requirement. All the other stuff. The other pain point that I see kind of common, I made a lot of comments last year on this, is the differential in standard 6 folder for budget. So we asked for 2 different things. We asked for budget and then monthly statements. So those are 2 different things. In some communities, depending on how your financials are run off, the monthlies can include the overall program budget, but not all of the time. So when we're talking about program budget, we're really talking about that budget that the council or whoever is the powers that be in your program has approved for the coming year as the expected amount, approved amount to be spent. So that's what we're looking for with the budget. For the monthlies is what actually from that budget was spent each month. And so that's the number that most likely you're using for your monthly reports. And so just that distinction has been a little bit hazy in the last couple of years, and I consistently see it. So if you have additional questions or want some clarifications, please reach out to me. I'm the questions girl. I love it. I like helping people. It makes my day go by a lot faster. So never hesitate to reach out via email. So that's budget. Job description, self-explanatory, training log and completion certificates for managers. So training log, this is another pain point that I've seen over the last couple of years for a training log. We have a template that we can send to you, or it is on the website as well. I think it's on the website.
Yep, it is, and I'll show them where it is. It's all in one spot.
Okay. The reason why this has sort of been a pain point is we've had some managers that haven't included hours. They'll be like, this is the training I did, but they don't say how many hours, and we're looking at the hours. So you have to include the hours that the training was. And then the other pain point that I have seen is you put, like, if you have multiple staff people, or if your board is really good about getting training, you sort of like intersperse them throughout the entire spreadsheet. And so when we're going in there to see if you've met your requirement of hours, like I literally have to go in and reformat the spreadsheet to figure out your hours. And so it takes me more time to fiddle with it to get the hours to make sure you hit the requirement. So when you're doing that, if you have more than one person you're reporting hours for, you need to separate them in chunks. So like have your hours, if you have another staff person, have their hours below that. with their name listed, and that just helps the process of reviewing as we go through over 100 of these folders. And so any sort of, it might not seem like a big deal to you, but that can be a huge time suck, for lack of a better word. And when we're going through these and we're reviewing them, we really want to try to go through them as quickly as possible so we can get our write-ups to you as quickly as possible. So that's just another thing that, you know, the template does that we've seen a lot of pain in the past couple of years that have really added time to the review process. So just keep that in mind for the training log. The standard 9 folder, very simple, just the copies of the reports that when you get the confirmation of the report in your email, you can download the PDF and then just plug it in this folder. That's all we're looking for there. And then the last thing, and the other big pain point that I see is the National Main Street proof. And so do I have screen share ability, Jessica?
Yep.
Where do I go?
Hold on. Sharing. I got to change presenter to you. Just give me 1 second.
Okay.
Okay. You should get a little thing that says, there you go.
Can you? Awesome.
Yep.
So we get a lot of people, where is it, that submit this as Main Street membership proof. This isn't Main Street membership proof. You get this because you're accredited for the current year. For Main Street membership proof, what we want to see is something like this, so where it has the dates that it's good for, that you've paid, and that you're current for the past year, and that also that you are coming into the new year with an accurate or a valid membership. So all of these things. So this is, you know, a print off of when they paid it. This is, you know, same thing. And then there's
you get a receipt or something like that from when you paid it, you know, showing that it's valid through whatever. That's doable as well.
And so you can log into your National Main Street and go to your, you know, membership page, and it'll show the payment history on here. A screenshot of that is good, but that's what we need to see. We don't need to see the certificate, and I'm still seeing that a lot. That's not telling us what we need to know. That we need to see that you've had a current, and that you are continuing to be current into 2021, at least into the first couple of months.
Awesome. A couple things that no, I thought that was good. A couple of the things that I wanted to just hit on too, because we had a couple people ask questions. One of them is, if I have an RSVP plan, can I use that as my work plan? Here's the thing about RSVP plans. I think they're awesome. I love them. I think the communities that have them, they have done some incredible things with them. But the thing is, the RSVP plan can be pretty extensive and comprehensive, and it's not something you're going to be able to do all at one time. So what I like to see is people taking that RSVP plan and breaking it down into our work plan template on the actual projects that you were working on at that very moment. Because again, I think that RSVP plan is this master plan, this idea of an ideal downtown that you're trying to create, but we're not going to realistically do it all at once, right? We're going to have to do it piece by piece. So I think that's one of the things that I want to see. If you have an RSVP plan or some big kind of master plan document, break it down into smaller, more digestible bites so we can see what you're working on, and again, give a little more direction to your board and volunteers so that they can see, hey, while we've got this big picture of what we're trying to achieve, these are the actual projects we're working on.
And what I tell people with that is the RSVP is, like Jessica's saying, that sort of far-reaching plan, and it has the action items in there. And so just for a year, have your board go through it and say, these are the action items we want to work on, and then plug those into the work plan and have the tasks delineated underneath the goals. And that's the way to sort of transfer it, because the RSVP is wonderful, and they do have some plans integrated. I've seen, you know, a variety of ways that it's laid out in different plans, and so there's no blanket statement of how it's done. But just sort of identifying the goals that you're wanting to work on that particular year, including that in your work plan, and then having the tasks delineated in the new work plan format is really what we're looking for in that.
And Elizabeth, for the annual budget versus the monthly financial statements, I know that when I was a manager, I did this, and I've seen it a lot with other people, that when you're doing kind of your monthly board meeting and you pull your financial report, you can have the city, or depending on what programs you're using yourself, you can have the like your total budget with your year to date, and then it's kind of like it delineates all the way down and dives deep down into those monthly expenses. Is a document like that good for the monthly kind of component?
Yes. And so technically, what we're looking for can be on one sheet of paper. If you're, like, for example, when I was in Washington, we used Edmunds, and I was able to pull up a year snapshot. So all I had to do, and it would tell me what the budget was, and then each breakdown of what was actually spent each month, and then my final, like, kind of year-to-date expenditure. And that was
Mm-hmm.
one sheet of paper. So if you have that capability, I actually wanted to have a couple examples to show, but then I didn't want to put like everyone's business out there. So but I can kind of show you, like, if you reach out to me, I can pull some examples and like black out the information for the community. So you can kind of see what I'm talking about. But yeah, so that's definitely 100% valid. And even sometimes if you're just pulling individual monthly sheets, that same overall budget is there. I know with some, existed, like some standalone nonprofit communities, they don't have that capability. That's really a software program that's really for municipalities. For the majority, I feel like QuickBooks isn't as friendly in that aspect sometimes, and so it can vary. And so but that 100%, that's true. And then I forgot to mention on the training, I've had a lot of questions on what counts as a training, and that people are worried about training hours this year. If you're ever worried about if a training is counting or not, you can reach out to us. But what I will say is for the mass majority will count, because the way that I look at it and our team looks at it is if it's something that you feel is important to better your understanding of how to serve your downtown, count it. And I also look at sort of the 4 points: design, organization, promotion, and economic restructuring. If it fits under any of those, count it, because those are what we're working towards, and those are the elements that are important. So for example, when I was in Washington, I went to the planning conference, the Georgia Planning Conference, and I felt that was necessary because I was looking on, ordinance updates for my community to better, do certain things downtown. So that was really important that I got that training and had that exposure, and so count it. Again, if you're ever questioning what counts, please reach out to us. We're happy to, thumbs up or thumbs down, but majority it'll be thumbs up. Even if you did like clown training, like, you could probably make the argument. It's like, I need maybe not, but like we're pretty, like, we want you to have training, and that's the majority of thing. And we're talking in person, which doesn't exist right now. Online webinars, the Zoom calls we've been doing count. So you probably are closer to your hours this year than you think, especially if you've done some of our other supplemental training, like the strategic planning or the leadership. You're probably closer than you think to the hours requirement if you're worried about it. So if you want any clarification, just reach out to us.
Yeah. And I mean, if you are one of those people, you're like, I haven't done any virtual trainings this year. I don't know how you got that lucky that you haven't had to participate in stuff. But the National Trust for Historic Preservation, their Past Forward conference is virtual, and it's happening next week. And the cool thing about virtual stuff is you can still register, right? So if you haven't done that and you need some training hours, that is a great opportunity to learn about stuff from all over the country, all over the world. And because we didn't have our national Main Street conference, there's actually going to be some Main Street stuff that's going to be talked about at that preservation conference. So it's kind of a good blend this year of preservation as well as some Main Street related things. And I will say, for me, the only sticking point in the training log area is that when you go to a meeting, it's not training. Like if you go to a meeting at the chamber, that's not training. If you have a board meeting, that's not training. If you're a GDA board member and you come, I'm not saying any of our GDA board members have done this, I'm just using it as an example. But if you were a Georgia Downtown Association board member, we're not counting that as training. So training is that, it's training. It's not me hosting a meeting or just attending a meeting. It's me going to some kind of workshop, class, event, something like that to learn. And again, our Georgia Downtown Conference that was held at the end of September, that's again a great thing to list as training opportunities. And we realize that we ask for 30 hours annually, and that number may be tough for some folks to hit this year. I'm okay with that if you don't get there, but I do, would like to see that you guys have tried to participate in something. And then we had someone just ask, our staff completed DDA training this year. Yeah, so that definitely counts. Anybody who's taken Main Street 101 or our new DDA 101 through our website, or if you participate in GMA's DDA 101, all that counts as training as well. All right, we're gonna move on. Let me switch my screens real quick. All right. Yep. There we go. So one of the things that we've had people do in the past when you're doing the big presentation thing is you'll see this annual standards for accreditation. And for those of you who've been with us for a while, remember that's those 10 different sections and you have to meet a certain points threshold and everything. We're not doing that this year. So the only thing you're going to have to do and complete and submit to us is that short form that Elizabeth and I were just showing you, and any additional supplementary paperwork that is requested through that checklist. So this whole big document that we typically do with our communities that are presenting, nobody needs to worry about this for 2021. Now 2022, we'll pick it up and we'll run with it again. But as for 2021, you do not have to worry about focusing on that document. And you will not find it a most up-to-date version on the website because I didn't want to confuse people. I just wanted to have the checklist and affidavit for you. Dropbox is where you're going to upload all this information. Again, if you are an experienced manager, you know this, you've done this, you know where to find it. But for all of our newbies, everybody has a shared Dropbox folder. You'll see here, this is the one that Statesboro has. And so the cool thing about it is that Statesboro has access to it. We have access to it. So we're all looking at the same information. You'll see here that they have their 2020 folder, which is where we want you to put all your information. Please do not send big emails with everything in it to us. We expect to see everything in this 2020 Dropbox folder for your program. And then if you go in and look at their specific folder, you'll see the breakdown that we want to see. So annual assessment folder, and then you'll see folders 1 through 10. They've got them labeled so you can kind of like off the bat see what each one stands for. This is the perfect setup. If your folders look like this, gold star, 2 gold stars, 3 thumbs up, like you've done exactly what you need to do. And the cool thing, remember that checklist that we showed you earlier, we tell you exactly where to put everything. So we've taken as much guesswork out of it as possible. So we tell you exactly what folder that each of these documents is expected to be seen in.
And if you're interested, we have a model Dropbox folder for 2020 where it I literally, sorry affiliates, you've heard this before. I as easy and simple as possible because it agrees with the checklist. So on the checklist, it says when you state something in the folder it's supposed to be in the model Dropbox folder, each standard 3, it's you click in standard 3, it says work plan, but you click in there and it'll tell you there's a work plan folder. So even within the folder, it's telling you exactly what's supposed to be in that folder. So for standard 5, it's agendas, minutes, MOU, board, roster. There's folders for each of those, so you know what's supposed to be in there. Our most updated templates are already pre-programmed in there. So if you're interested in having me just drop that into your Dropbox, just email me and I can do that for you. So and it's all labeled, so it's standard 1 and it tells you mission and vision, or volunteer, standard 2, mission and vision, all that, standard 3, historic preservation, or no, standard 3, work plan, standard 4, historic preservation, all that type of stuff. So if you're interested in that, just let me know.
Yeah, we can easily help y'all set that up very quickly. So a couple things about Dropbox. You are required to keep this information up to date. We like to see it updated throughout the year, not just in December when you're deciding to get things together for January. You are required to keep historical information. So you saw in there that you had multiple years of information. All that needs to stay in there. Just because you completed a year doesn't mean we delete it or get rid of any of that information, because the idea is that we're building this historical record of what has happened with your program in your community. If you don't know what it is, I would always say archive it, don't delete it. This documentation and information does impact your eligibility for accreditation. And again, if you need help, ask. We have created tools and resources for you guys to help walk you through Dropbox, to help walk you through these expectations. If you feel confused or stressed out at any point in this process, all you need to do is reach out. It is literally our jobs to help guide you through this process. And that is what we are here for. And I can understand when you are new, it can be so overwhelming. And if you're experienced, you're probably already checked out at this point because you're like, I know this, Jessica, but we're all good.
And I have been doing one-on-one Zoom calls with affiliates to help them through the process. This is their first, time setting up everything. If any of the new managers out there are interested in me doing that with them this year, so you just don't have to be scared, just let me know. Just send me an email and I'd be happy to set up a Zoom call with you and me in your Dropbox folder to make sure that it's linked correctly. We can sort of problem solve any specific questions you have about the content that's in
there. And real quickly, we're going to go through how to find some of these resources. Again, you're at our Georgia Main Street website. You're going to go to the resource library. You're going to check, click on that section. It's going to take you to this main page. You're going to filter by category. You're going to click on the annual assessment section. That's where this affidavit and checklist is going to come up here at the top. The work plan stuff that we've talked about, that work plan template, that's on there. A visual guide to Dropbox management, that is on there as well. And then you'll see underneath that training log. So, those documents that we've referenced today, the work plan template, the, how your Dropbox should look and be set up and what needs to go in there and your training log, all this is in the same section. So you can find all these resources in one place. And again, if you haven't explored our resource library, I would encourage you to do so. We've got some cool stuff in there. We've got our publications. We do some deep dives into our community transformation strategies. We've got examples of org charts, budgets, job descriptions, everything. All this stuff is in our resource library. And I would say, it's one of those things that if you haven't looked at it, make sure you check it out. So right now you're asking yourself, am I ready for what's ahead? So first off, if you log into your Dropbox and it looks like this, what you see on the screen, I can tell you right now you're not ready. What I want to see is those years, right? So 2015, 16, 17, 18, 19. And if I go into your folder today and there is not a 2020 folder, I can tell you right now, you're not ready. If you go into your standard 5 folder, which is, needs to have all your board minutes and agendas and that kind of stuff. If that folder is empty, I can tell you right now, you're not ready. I want to see all that information. Keep that data up to date and in there, because I will tell you, people computers have died, people have lost everything. Mercury's in retrograde right now, technology sucks. Like, this is a place where you can have and access all this information. We've had people whose computers have died, broken, shut down, been hacked by viruses, and they've had this information uploaded and available for us both to share, and it has saved them because they didn't have to go back and recreate stuff. So my thing is, when you're done for the month with your board meeting, put your agenda in there, put your meeting minutes in there, put your, monthly financial reports, just plug it all in and do it month by month. And that way you've always got it in there and you don't have to, at the end of the year, scramble to put it all in one place.
And I will, sorry.
Nope.
One thing I have noticed in the past couple of years, it's gotten better, but in some instances, like in the folders for the current year that I'm looking at, it'll say, boundaries. And there won't be boundaries in the folder I'm looking for in that year. And so I have to go out into the main Dropbox and look for it. Like, I know y'all have it because you've gotten approved before in the past years. And so whether there's a folder in the main Dropbox that says map, but you didn't do the effort to put it in that year's folder. Previously, I would kind of do it for you. This year, probably not. We're going to be lenient in other areas. So please, if we're asking for something in a folder, and I see it somewhere else in your Dropbox, I'm going to recognize that. I'm like, I know you have it, but it needs to be in the year 2021's folder or 2020's folder, just because having to do over 100 of these and having to go search out stuff in other parts of your Dropbox, that adds a lot of time, and it adds time for us getting your, accreditation write-up back to you and other communities. And so it's not fair to those communities if you don't take 2 seconds to drag something in that year's folder. And so on that element of Dropbox, we've been lenient, in the past. We're going to be looking a little harder at that this year, and we're going to be lenient in the other areas of 2020 that you had no control over, like board minutes or like board meetings, all that type of stuff. So I just want to kind of
and stuff. Yeah.
So I'm going to like put that out there. So
and I will say too,
you know who you are. Like
for us, I know you're thinking, well, if it's just there, why don't you just drag and drop it in there? But for us, we don't know if that's your most accurate, up-to-date version, So the thing is, us doing that doesn't necessarily guarantee that the information is accurate and up to date, which is why we want you to do it, because we want to make sure that whatever's in there is whatever you currently have on file, is not an old iteration of something, an old version of something, because people's boundaries do change. People update things, they expand, they change footprints, they, annex in certain areas. So again, it's not that we don't want to help and support. We just want to make sure that everything in there needs to be there and that it's accurate. Natalie, I see you got your hand raised. Do you have a question? All right, I'm gonna move on if I don't hear from Natalie. So, okay, next steps. We've talked about, everything today. Where do you stand? What do you need to do? I would say do an initial assessment of your Dropbox, how it's organized. Go in there, kind of just do a quick overview, use that checklist. Again, you can download it today in our handouts and say, okay, this is where I'm at, this is what I need to do. Make updates and archive the information as needed. You need to download that copy of that checklist and affidavit. You got to upload supporting documentation. Double check that all your monthly reports have been submitted. The great thing about monthly reports is you get a copy back to you. A lot of people then upload that copy to Dropbox. But here's the thing. Elizabeth, reaches out every month to let people know when they're delinquent, or if they're missing something accidentally, or, whatever. So you really probably should know at this point if you're in trouble in monthly reporting. And again, we haven't had to do a lot of other things this year, so we're going to really be looking at monthly reporting this year. You should be able to keep up with that this year. There should be, not a lot of excuses there in that area. We expect that to really be on time and on target. And then last but not least, once you've got everything good to go and shared, have a board chair or supervisor sign the affidavit, upload a copy of that to Dropbox, and kick back. You're all done. Again, our hope with, changing up things for 2021 is that instead of being frustrated and upset, that you feel like you can, sit back and relax a little bit and focus on other stuff that's going on in your world. We're not trying to add to the stress. We're really trying to help take away from the stress. So, thank you guys for taking the time with us. Elizabeth and I are here for questions if you have any. If not, then, we appreciate your time, and we will upload this video to YouTube for later viewing. So we'll stick around for a little bit if you guys have any specific questions that you would like us to address for your program or about the annual assessment process in general. But thank you guys for being here with us today. Hey Sadie, there should be a standard one folder. Did we not show that in Dropbox? But yeah, there should be. So there should be a folder for each of the standards. So standard 1 through 10, as well as an annual assessment folder. So technically you will have 11 folders in Dropbox. Yeah. So you'll have. For some. Oh, sorry. You go, Elizabeth.
Some communities on the off years, if they're just completing the checklist, there's nothing required for standard 1 and standard 4 folders for the checklist years. So some communities just don't have those folders for those particular years because there's going to be nothing in them anyway. On the full checklist years, if there's something in there, they'll have them. But that's just something I've noticed. And I actually did that for the affiliates so that they wouldn't have confusion on it. For if they needed something in those folders, but they're empty and they're like, oh no, what's supposed to be in there? That might be why there wasn't one in the screenshot, is they may have just taken it out of the equation since there's going to be nothing in there this year anyway. Is my guess. But typically, yeah, standard 1 is the volunteer and standard 4 is historic preservation on Big Mama assessment. But on checklist years, there's nothing required for those folders.
Hey, Abby, if you're still on, let me show you where you can find stuff. So, Elizabeth, are you seeing my screen right now?
I see. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Hold on.
The thing.
Yeah, let me change that. All right. Do you see it now? Oh, no, still see that. Come on. Oh, technology. There we go. All right. So Abby, if you're still on, the place you're going to go to find all this stuff, you're going to go to resources here at the top, check a resource library, and then you're going to filter by category and go to annual assessment. A bunch of this stuff, like the templates and things, I've already put in one place. So we've got the work plan template here that you can download and get more information on. We've got the training log here that you can download, and then your board roster template. So a lot of those things that you need are already there. If you want more assistance or need more help, just reach out to Elizabeth and we can copy and paste that folder that's already done into your Dropbox, and a lot of this stuff is already in that. All right, other than that, thank you guys. And then Elizabeth, do you see Laura was reaching out to you?
Yeah, I just asked her if she had time for a quick call right now.
All right.
Laura, do you have a time for a quick call after? Awesome, I will call you.
All right. Well, it doesn't look like we have any other questions, so I'm gonna end it all for us. I'm just gonna end it all.
Jeffrey, Jeffrey's question about the screenshot. If you go to that Dropbox, the Dropbox resource that Jessica, like on the page that's up right now, that sort of has there for you. So that's an easy way to get to it.
Yep. You can go here and then you download it, and it'll pull up a visual of what everything should look like. And while it's from a couple years ago, the step, the years are changing, but the information's still relevant and the same.
Jeffrey, I'll pop the model Dropbox in your Dropbox. Does that work? Because it has all the names.
Yeah,
perfect.
We can do that for you.
I will do that right now so I don't forget.
That's easy peasy. We can do that. All right, guys. Well, if that's it, then I'm going to end. Oh man, I had another poll to ask. I forgot. I was going to say, how are we feeling now?
Oh.
It's all good. I'm sure people, want to move on with their days.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys. I'm going to end it then if we're good. No more questions. Okay. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.